A newborn taken just moments after birth. Was it legal or a violation of parental rights? In this shocking case, a mother's drug use during pregnancy led CPS to intervene immediately. What's worse is this wasn't the first child. Did CPS follow the law, or did they go too far? Will the mother fight to regain custody, or will this child be lost to the system? Was this removal justified or an injustice? Let's dive in. If you haven't already, hit that like button and subscribe to stay locked in on the latest legal battles happening across the country.
This time I will call cause number 994142 in the interest of Deshane Hughes. We're here set for our adversary hearing. We are conducting this through Zoom under a finding of a good cause and agreement of the parties. We're live streaming, and I'm recording to the Zoom cloud today. If anybody needs a copy, let me know and we'll make it available. All right, we'll go ahead and take announcements.
Daniel Trout for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. We're present, ready.
Bailey Sapien on behalf of Mom, Miss Brown. My client is present and we're ready.
Chair Morales on behalf of respondent father Tyrell Hughes, Your Honor. I do represent Mr. Hughes in another matter, and I've always had difficulty getting a hold of him. As the court stated earlier, apparently he is in custody. I did look that up. It appears that he does have a blue warrant parole violation as well, so I don't think he's going to be able to meaningfully participate for some time, I would imagine. I will contact him immediately after this hearing, Your Honor.
Okay.
T.D. Hammonds for the child, Deshane Tyrell Hughes. Ready to proceed, Judge.
Okay. Mr. Trout, how many witnesses do you have today?
Possibly 3, Your Honor.
All right, and Ms. Sapien?
Just my client, Judge.
Okay. And Mr. Morales, any witnesses today?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. And Mr. Hammonds?
None, Judge.
Okay. So, Ms. Brown and then all the department witnesses, if you will, everybody that we think we're going to call today, I want to get everybody sworn in right now.
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Combs, if you'll come on camera.
Okay. I've got Ms.
Combs.
Okay. All right then. Do each of you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you'll give today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, ma'am.
I do.
I do.
Okay. Thank y'all. All right then.
And Your Honor, is somebody calling Ms. Smith? I didn't know. I know Ms. Sapien said her client, but is she calling Ms. Smith also?
No, I don't plan on it.
Okay. I did not have her on my witness list either, Your Honor.
All right. Okay. All right. So Ms. Smith, sounds like nobody's intending to call you as a witness. So okay. I'll release you from the oath that you just took.
Okay.
All
Thank you.
Okay. And let me just ask, what is Ms. Smith's association with the case?
She's Ms. Brown's sister, I believe is correct, Your Honor.
Right, Smith.
All right. So if she's not going to be testifying, we just have.
She was there at the time, Your Honor.
Okay, hang on. If she isn't testifying, normally then we just have people observe on the YouTube channel. Does anybody have an objection to her staying logged in with us? Ms. Smith, I'll just tell you will mute. We'll put you on mute. You're not going to be able to speak today unless somebody calls you as a witness. So counsel, any objection to her remaining here instead of watching on YouTube?
I don't have any objection, Your Honor.
No objection for me.
No objection, Your Honor.
No objection, Judge.
Okay. All right, Ms. Smith, then you can remain in here with us. I'm going to go ahead and mute your device, and so you can observe and listen to everything, but you can't just join in and talk. Is all I'm saying. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Okay, Mr. Traps, you can call your first witness.
Yes, ma'am. I'll call Ms. Pineda Tirado first, Your Honor.
All right. If you'll unmute, y'all can start.
Ismar, would you state your name for the record, please?
Ismar Pineda Tirado.
And how are you employed?
I'm an investigator for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services.
And are you familiar with the case involving the child, Deshane Hughes?
I am.
And how are you familiar with that case?
I'm the investigator assigned to the case.
How did the department become involved in this case?
We received a report on October the 25th, 2024.
Okay. And what kind of report did you receive?
The report stated that there were some concerns that Miss Brown had a new baby, as well as concerns that she had her rights terminated or relinquished her rights previously to other children. The report also stated that there were some concerns that Miss Brown and Tyrell Hughes, as well as the maternal grandmother, Teddy Smith, were all abusing methamphetamines.
Okay. Were there any screens taken at the time of the birth?
Yes, we received information from the hospital stating that Miss Brown was positive for methamphetamine.
Okay, I'm getting some feedback somewhere. Let's try giving that answer again.
I made an objection, Your Honor.
Yes.
To be responsive.
Okay, I couldn't, so, all right, I didn't hear her answer, so let's back up. Sorry. What, okay,
The question was, was the mother or child screened at the birth?
all right. And Ms. Sapien, your objection?
My objection was to the answer provided by Miss Pineda.
All right. Ms. Pineda-Torrado, you can answer again, and I'll rule on her objection. What answer did you give?
Yes, I explained that the hospital, we had received information from the hospital that Miss Brown was positive for methamphetamines at the delivery of her baby, Deshane Hughes.
Okay, I'll sustain her objection. Listen carefully to the question that Mr. Trout asks you, and just answer what he asks.
Were mother and baby screened at the hospital?
Yes,
Okay. Were the results concerning?
yes.
Okay. Were you able to, where did your investigation go from there?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch the last bit of that. What was that question?
Where did your investigation go from there?
At that time, I did speak to my supervisor and our upper management, and we did decide that legal custody needed to be taken of Deshane Hughes to ensure his immediate safety.
Was the baby set to be released from the hospital?
Yes,
Okay. And what day was the baby set to be released? Do you remember?
it would have been on October the 28th of this year.
Okay. And were you able to meet with either parent by that time?
No,
Okay. Did you look up and try to find the father?
yes,
Okay. And where was he at the time? And what was his name? What is the father's name?
Tyrell Hughes
Okay. And where was Mr. Hughes at the time?
at the Potter County Detention Center.
So was he arrested at the hospital or somewhere else?
The information I received was that Mr. Hughes was arrested at the hospital for felony warrants.
Okay. Is he, to this day, is he still incarcerated right now?
Yes.
And you were not able to speak to mom at that time?
I did receive a phone call from her sister, Victoria Smith, and Miss Brown was on the phone with her at the time.
Okay. Did you have a conversation with Miss Brown about the reasons for removal and why you were involved in the investigation?
I did not at that time. The conversation was mostly about when I would be up to the hospital to speak to them about the case.
Okay. And you weren't able to get to the hospital till after request for removal was filed?
Correct.
And was the request for the removal based upon the concerning results from the screens and the prior history with the parents?
Yes.
Do you know, was there a potential for a safety plan at that time? Or was that ruled against due to the history?
That was just ruled against due to the history.
Okay. After removal, were you able to meet with Ms. Brown?
I was.
And did you discuss why we had requested a removal?
Yes.
Okay. And what did Ms. Brown state about potential drug use or alleged drug use?
At the beginning of our conversation, she did deny using methamphetamines. She did tell me that she believes her medication was what was making her test positive for methamphetamines. There was a comment that Ms. Brown made that she did not hit meth the day that she pushed her baby out, and that was the extent of the conversation.
Okay. Did you ask if Ms. Brown would be willing to drug screen for you that day?
I did.
And was she willing to drug screen for you?
No.
Does that give you concern?
Yes.
Were you able to speak with Dad at that time?
Yes.
Okay. And did you go out to the Potter County Detention Center and speak with him?
Yes.
Did you discuss the alleged allegations with him?
Yes.
And what were his comments?
He also denied using methamphetamines. He denied that Ms. Brown was using methamphetamines, and I believe his answer was that he has been with her the whole time, so he would know if she was.
Okay. Did you ask if he were to get out of jail, would he drug screen for you?
Yes.
And would he have been willing to do that if he were to get out?
He said he was not.
Okay. Was cord blood taken from the baby?
Yes.
And was that sent off to be tested?
Yes.
And did those come back with concerning results?
Yes.
Do you believe that based upon the history and the allegations at the time and the concerning results, it was in the best interest of the child at the time to remove and place into care?
Yes.
Thank you, ma'am. I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Sapien?
Thank you, Judge. Ms. Pineda Tirado, you just testified that cord blood was sent off from the child. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and have you provided those results to me or Ms. Brown?
No.
Why not?
I was not aware that I needed to.
Can you provide those results to me?
Yes.
What day was the baby born?
I believe his date of birth is October 24th, 2024.
Okay, and then what date is it that you were able to meet with Ms. Brown in person?
That would have been October 28th, 2024.
And what was the date of the removal?
The date of the removal was October 28th, 2024.
The results that you say are concerning from mom at the hospital, have you provided a copy of those to me or Ms. Brown?
No.
Have you seen those results with your own eyes?
I have not.
And you are the person that completed the affidavit in support of removal, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And so your assertion that there's a positive test is coming from what someone else has told you, correct?
Yes.
And you have not verified that on your own, correct?
Correct.
And you're aware that whether she's previously terminated or previously relinquished, that on its own cannot be used to remove a child, correct?
I was not aware of that.
So it sounds like, Ms. Pineda Tirado, that someone told you there could be a concerning test result, and then you asked this judge to remove the child based on that accusation. Would you agree with that?
I received information from a professional mandated reporter regarding the drug screen results for Ms. Brown.
And you did not confirm those on your own, correct?
Correct.
And I believe you were also told or made aware that the hospital gave medication that could cause a positive result, correct?
The medication would have caused a positive result for opiates, not methamphetamines.
Were you involved in, well, I'll strike that. I'll pass the witness.
Mr. Morales?
No questions, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Hammonds?
Judge, just a couple. Has Miss Brown indicated to you that she is taking psychotropic medication right now?
Yes.
Did she ever show you prescriptions?
No.
Did she ever indicate to you the psychiatrist that prescribed those meds?
I don't believe so.
Has she indicated to you that she's visiting with a psychiatrist on a regular basis?
I don't believe so.
Is this the first time you've dealt with Miss Brown?
Yes.
When you go into a situation like this and you review their history with their department, have you read the previous investigators' reports?
Yes.
And did those reports indicate to you that Miss Brown does draw a disability in regards to some sort of mental issue?
I don't recall that information necessarily.
All right. What specifically concerns you about the safety of this child in the custody of Miss Brown?
My concerns were the positive methamphetamine screen that Miss Brown had at the delivery of the child.
All right. In your discussions with her, have you noticed anything in regards to her speech or her mannerisms that would cause you concern with an infant?
I did not observe any signs of her being under the influence at the time, no.
I have none further, Judge.
All right. Mr. Trout?
I have no more questions right now from Ms. Tirado. I may call her back in a little bit, but right now I have no more questions for you, Your Honor.
All right. Anybody else have any further questions for Ms. Tirado?
No, Judge.
No, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Tirado, you'll need to stay with us then. Okay, Mr. Trout, your next witness.
Call Ms. Brown, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Brown, can you hear us okay? Okay. All right, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Brown, would you state your full name for the record, please?
Tashika Deshauna Brown.
And Ms. Brown, you're the mother of Deshane Hughes?
Yes, I am.
Okay. And you gave birth on October 24th of 2020?
Yes, I did.
And you've heard the testimony of the allegations of drug use, correct?
Did I what? I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
You heard the testimony as to the allegations of drug use, correct?
Oh, yes. Yes, sir.
All right. Do you use drugs?
No, sir.
Okay. Have you ever?
Once upon a time I did. Yes, sir.
Okay. You had a previous case right before this, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And that was a case where you and father both relinquished rights, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I did.
And during that case, did you work any services?
No, not during the last previous case.
Okay. And you didn't drug screen for the department at that time either, did you?
No, I didn't.
All right, Ms. Sapien, I just heard objection, but not what your objection was.
Relevance, Your Honor.
Overruled.
During that prior case, you didn't drug screen, you were pregnant with Deshane, correct?
No, I wasn't. I became pregnant after the case, after I did.
Okay. We ended that case on August 1st of 2024, correct?
Yes, and it takes 9 months.
Correct. That was only 3 months ago.
Yeah, I got pregnant within that 3 months of the case ending with King Hughes.
Correct. So at the time we ended the case with King, you were 6 months pregnant.
No, I wasn't even showing.
That's not in this question.
No, I'm telling you, Judge, I was not pregnant with, I'm telling him no.
Okay. So your testimony right now is that we ended your last case with King on August 1st of 2024. Now is November 13th of 2024. So we're 3 months and 2 weeks. And you have since then, you have become pregnant and carried a baby to full term and had it in those 3 months.
No, I was pregnant. I could have been pregnant at the time of me delinquishing, but not without me. I didn't know.
Okay.
I didn't yet take a drug screen, but I mean, not a drug screen. It's a paternity. Basically, I didn't take a pregnancy test until after the delinquishment, and I found out I was pregnant. I had to be like 2 months, if anything, because I was not showing. Once again, I did not have symptoms. I did not know I was pregnant.
Okay.
Because that happened pretty fast, if you know, delinquishment.
Yes, ma'am.
Of King.
3 months ago, you would have been 6 months pregnant, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So at the time of the ending of the last case, you were 6 months pregnant and you were not drug screening for the department. Correct?
I don't know if you ask, like, what are you asking me? Like, you talk about my last son, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And you're asking if I was pregnant during my last son. And I did not want a drug test because of that.
Move on, Your Honor. Ms. Brown, did you receive prenatal care during this pregnancy?
No, because I worked out of town. I worked out of state for the beginning of my pregnancy with Deshane.
Okay. And when was the beginning of your pregnancy with Deshane?
When I found out that I was pregnant, sorry.
Mhm.
When I found out I was pregnant, it was in November. And I went to California.
No, you found out you were pregnant with Deshane in November of when?
2023.
Okay.
And I went to California to work with Atlas. And it was in California that I had received my OB/GYN care.
Okay. So about a year ago, you found out you were pregnant with Deshane.
No, but like I found out I was pregnant with Deshane in November. It was it was mid-December.
Mid-December of 2023?
I'm trying to think back. Actually, it was January, 2024 that I found out.
Okay, let's stop for a minute. Ms. Brown, I need you to get back on camera, and you're muted now, so we can't hear you.
Sorry, my bad. My phone is messing up.
Is there anybody else there with you?
No, it's just I keep getting calls. I'm sorry. I'm trying to go back to main screen. I'm sorry.
All right, Mr. Trott, you may continue.
Yes, ma'am. And Ms. Brown, I'm just trying to get the timeline down, so that's why I keep asking.
My bad. Just to correct it, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Can you hear me?
Okay, just to correct it. Yeah, I can hear you. Just to correct it, my bad. I had to think back. It's been so much. But it was January of 2024 when I did find out that I was pregnant with Deshane Hughes.
Okay. So January of 2024, you found out you were pregnant.
Yes.
We ended the case on King in August of 2024. So
yes.
you had knowledge of your pregnancy from January to August before the case with King ended.
So the case ended with King on August 2024?
Yes, ma'am.
I can say no, I delinquished my rights way before then. I delinquished my rights back in 2023 to King.
Okay.
Now they just took Deshane out of the hospital when I had him.
Okay. And you had no prenatal care from January until October. You had no prenatal care with Deshane.
No, I actually had prenatal care in 2024 in January, February in California when I worked for Atlas. But then I had stopped because pretty much I've already had prior kids. Like I didn't need to see an OBGYN while I was working for Atlas in California. But I have had OBGYN care. But when you didn't been through the rodeo, I mean, like, I didn't see him periodically like I probably should have, but I was working out of state. Then I came back into state 2024 May, and I didn't receive OBGYN care here. No, I didn't.
Okay.
Not in America, Texas.
And your case was ongoing in your other case with King, and you were not drug screening at that point.
I mean, I wasn't drug screening for my reasons, but yeah, I wasn't drug screening
Okay.
the times that I was asked to.
So at this point, we have concerns of positive screens from the hospital, and the only thing we have to go on is you saying you don't use, correct?
No, because I didn't even give a drug screen. All they took was my blood, and that didn't even come back in that time frame that that CPS received the allegations.
Okay.
They never screened me. I went in and had him in within 2 hours of arriving.
I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Okay. The second?
Thank you, Judge. Ms. Brown, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you.
Okay, great. Ms. Brown, are you currently working?
I am a full-time student, and I'm working like little self-employed, like odd jobs, but not currently because I just had a baby.
Okay. Where are you a student at?
I'm a student at Central Texas College online. I
Okay.
take 4 classes.
Do you recall giving birth to Deshane?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And after the birth, did Deshane stay with you for a while?
No.
Okay. Did they let him remain in your hospital room?
Oh, yes. He stayed in the room with me for a while. The whole time, actually. All the way up until I got discharged.
Okay, so how many days was Deshane in the hospital room with you?
3. I went in on the 24th and was released on Monday, so that was the 28th, I believe.
Okay, so the time from October 24th to October 28th, Deshane was in the hospital room with you.
Yep, he would get taken out for like tests, but he stayed in the room with me.
And how was Deshane being fed during that time?
Yes, I was breastfeeding him and also bottle feeding because his sugar level was just a little low, but it got back right immediately. But yeah, I was breastfeeding him. I breastfed him twice.
Did the hospital know, or were the nurses present when you were breastfeeding?
Yep, they told me an easier way to pop the left titty in his mouth.
Did anyone tell you to stop breastfeeding?
Nope. Well, eventually when the CPS was contacted, I guess when they hopped in the situation.
But you were breastfeeding for a few days, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
When Deshane was born, did they have any health concerns besides the sugar you just mentioned?
No, just jaundice, but they just said because our blood type is different, that happens, but it was back normal like within hours. They just had to keep him in under a blue light, but they did that in the room with me.
How were you taken to the hospital, Miss Brown?
In the ambulance.
And on that ambulance ride, were you given any medications?
I was.
Do you know what you were given?
I do not. All that I know is the man told me that it was given to me to slow down contractions.
And once you got to the hospital, do you recall being given any more medication?
Yes.
And do you know what those medications were?
I do not. I just figured it was for pain because the contractions were getting closer, and I wasn't given the epidural.
Ms. Brown, you testified that you found out you were pregnant with Deshane in January of 2024. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you acknowledge that in the past you have been a user of methamphetamine. Is that correct?
Yes, in the past.
During your pregnancy, at any time, did you use methamphetamine?
I did not. Due to the rest of them, I just wanted to do it differently. And what did I hear?
I heard I wanted to do it differently, and then you cut off.
My bad. No, I wanted to do something different. Basically, I just didn't want another child snatched from me due to nothing. So I stay clean through Deshane.
Okay. Where are you currently living at, Ms. Brown?
The same house on 1818 Maple.
How long have you lived there?
5 years.
Who lives in the home with you?
Currently myself and just me.
Do you have room there at your home for Deshane?
I do.
Would he have his own bedroom?
Yes, he will.
And is it currently set up for him?
Yes.
How many rooms are in the home?
3.
You heard some questions earlier, or did you hear questions earlier about your mental health?
I did.
Okay. And are you currently on psychotropic medication?
I'm not currently as we speak, I was on them at the end of my pregnancy because I was told by my psychiatrist to take them as needed, and I would hop on and off of them. But yes, I'm currently on them, and I do see a psychiatrist.
Okay, do you see the psychiatrist like he or she wants you to see them?
Currently, I'm trying to do it virtual, like teledoc, just because it makes it easier on me. But yes, you can ask them. I've seen them periodically every 3 months.
So is it your understanding that you are in compliance with your psychiatrist's orders
To remain on my medication?
to use it like they tell you to?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Has CPS ever asked you to see those medications?
Yes, I gave it to a past caseworker, pictures, and she's seen them in person as well. And I sent her pictures of all 3 medications I take.
And was that in a
And,
prior or in this case?
well, I wasn't asked by SMR. I was never asked about my psychiatric health or health at all.
Okay,
I
and
told her,
I'm sorry, that was my question. I'm sorry I wasn't clear. I was asking about this case specifically.
yeah, no, she didn't ask me, so I didn't tell her. But I did let her know I was on Caserta. It could have been the reason, but as far as that was all that was spoke about.
Ms. Brown, do you believe you are able to provide a safe place for Deshane to be?
Yes, I do.
Do you believe you are a safe parent?
I believe I am.
A protective parent?
Yes, ma'am.
A sober parent?
Yes, ma'am.
What are you doing, Ms. Brown, to maintain your sobriety?
I mean, as of now, I'm just reading books, like just meditating. I do yoga. Like I have a lot of time right now on my hands, so I come up with different things. I clean up. I always try to busy myself and just remain on my medication. In school, of course. Sorry.
Was school something you were able to do while you were actively using methamphetamine?
Yeah, because I mean, like it never. I mean, like I wasn't like really just. I wasn't out here doing anything when I was on it. Like I did it for energy. Like I was like self-medicating at one point. But as far as just being sober and maintaining that, I can do that as well.
So what I want to know, Ms. Brown, is what is the difference between Ms. Brown on methamphetamine and Ms. Brown sober today? Who's the different person? What are the differences?
I took care of it. I mean, I didn't see no difference. Honestly, that's just, I know it probably sound bad, but I mean, as far as my daughter, I was dabbling with that, but I raised her to 8 years old, and then she was took with the rest. But I mean, I raised her by myself, single mom, and I self-medicated at one point, and I mean, like took her to school and everything.
So if a newborn is returned to your care, Ms. Brown, we all know that takes a lot of energy. What would you do to maintain your energy without using methamphetamine?
Remain seeing my psychiatrist, remain counseling, remain doing my meditation. Just, it's not hard to stay off of methamphetamine. I just been accused of it so much.
Seeing your psychiatrist and taking your medication, is that something new in the last year?
No, I've stayed with the same psychiatrist. I've stayed on my medicine. It's just in the past you're asking about ever, so I just went and reflected back in the past. But no, in a year I've stayed clean.
I'll pass the witness.
Okay, Mr. Morales, any questions?
No questions, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Hammonds.
Miss Brown, where did you go to high school?
Paula Durrell High.
Okay, and did you graduate?
Yes, I did.
All right. How long have you and Tyrell been married?
For 4 years. I mean, you said married. I would say common law because we stayed together for 4 years, day in, day out here.
Okay. And you mentioned you went to California with Tyrell?
Out of state, yeah. For Atlas, a job that we had to do, or that we were doing.
Okay. Okay, what do you do for them? What kind of job is it?
We set up displays. It's a labor job. We set up displays for Dollar Tree and the Dollar Generals, like they're combining.
Okay. And during this period of time in California, did you ever observe Tyrell to use any kind of illegal substances?
I didn't see him use nothing illegal in California.
Oh, okay. Now, you understand methamphetamine, cocaine, marijuana, things of that nature can stay in your hair follicles sometimes up to 180 days. You understand that?
Yeah.
Why would you not give the department a drug test when they asked you?
Because I just got used to basically, like at one point in time, I was like with the first one, Tyrell Jr. that got took. Like there was times that we both tested and we know that we were clean. We stayed clean and we were telling them that we were, but then we go drug test and it was always something like, it was always positive. So to where my urine could be clean and then it was my hair follicle that was dirty. But at times that it would be like his would be skyrocket high and to where he should be dead, and then it just was like inconsistent results that we knew wasn't right. So we just stopped.
Okay.
It's like we were going for losing, so we just stopped applying. That's why we chose not to do it.
Okay. So basically what you're telling me is your distrust of the system
Yes.
prevents you from giving them a specimen of any type.
Yes, like the hospital basically said that I had oral tested and stuff, and I never took a drug screen up there. They never swabbed me. They never did none of that.
Okay, but you understand, you even made the comment, they did draw your blood at the hospital.
But the results weren't back for them to make allegations to CPS to say that I was pregnant and on meth at the time of my delivery. They didn't have nothing wrong at that time.
Okay, are you familiar with the drug testing situation at the hospital?
Am I familiar? What you mean? Like, did I do
Well,
drug testing?
Well, are you familiar with how they do their lab at the hospital?
They usually tell you what they're gonna do to you. First of all, it was never told to me because that's my right. But it was never told to me. I was never swabbed and I was never. I know blood work is one of the ways they can test. It was never like nothing was took. Like they never swabbed me. Nothing. I never gave urine at that time.
Okay, but I thought you said they did draw your blood.
They drew my blood after I had Duchenne. They drew my blood because I had to get two blood transfusions.
Okay, but do you understand it's very customary for the hospital to test your blood once you enter their facility? Do you understand that?
Yeah, but they never did.
Okay, what makes you think they did not?
Because I pushed him out before they did any blood work on me. They only put an IV in my arm that was given to me at the ambulance. The IV was put in my arm in the ambulance going to the hospital. When I got there, I waited out my contractions and had Duchenne. No blood.
Okay, but they did draw a blood vial from you after his birth.
Exactly.
Okay, but you're telling this judge that nobody ever told you the results of that blood?
Nobody did. Not BSA. They still, and then not even as Insamar. When I got to her to meet with her, she said that they were still awaiting the blood results. They hadn't came back yet.
Okay. The psychiatrist in town that prescribes your meds, who is that?
Dr. V. I can't say his name. Dr. V over in Care Circle.
Okay. And how long have you been visiting with Dr. V?
Since I was in foster care at the age of 12.
And has he told you specifically what your diagnosis is?
Yes, he has.
Okay, what is that?
Bipolar, depressive disorder, ADHD, and anxiety, and mood swings, a mood disorder.
Okay, and you've been receiving medication for that since age 12?
Well, yeah, I've received medication for other things, but that's what I've known to take it for. My bipolar, my mood swings, and my, depression that I can fall into here and there.
Okay, and then at some point you also started receiving disability payments for that?
No, I don't receive any disability payments.
Okay, that's where I was confused. I thought at some point you'd written down you were receiving like $291 a month in disability payments.
No, I've never wrote that down.
Okay, so you've been able to work at employment since high school?
On and off, it with my disorder, it kind of, when I get down, like my lows with the ADHD that I have, it can feel like pulling myself out of bed, but I got the flu. Like sometimes it becomes hard at work, and so my doctor even had put it on paper that employment was kind of difficult to keep. But I worked at a lot of jobs, gained a lot of experience, but I know how to work, and it's just been things in the past that made it inconsistent, due to my bipolar.
Okay, and you're basically living by yourself right now?
Currently, yes, I am.
Do you have a vehicle?
I do now.
And you have a valid driver's license?
Yes, I'm working on that right now. I have to have a car to take the driver's test, so I can take my driver's test. Now that my ticket is cleared up.
Okay, hang on. You all are talking over each other. So,
I'm sorry.
His question. Hang on. His question was, do you have a valid driver's license? And you said you were working on it. So, sitting here today, The answer is no.
Oh yeah, no, not currently.
Okay. And then you were describing that you needed to take the test.
Yeah, which I've already took the written. I just need to go take the test.
Okay. All right, Mr. Hammonds, go ahead.
Okay, thanks, Judge. What other family do you have here in Amarillo?
My mother, my grandmother, my sisters, my siblings, basically my 3 brothers and my 2 sisters.
Okay, and Victoria Smith is a maternal aunt?
Yes, she's my eldest sister.
Okay, do you have other aunts and uncles here in Amarillo?
I do. I have a large family.
Okay. Let me just explain to you what my role in this is. I represent Deshane's interest. I am his attorney. I mean, you understand from my position how concerning it is for an infant to be placed with you if you won't even submit a drug test. Would you be willing to submit a drug test today?
Yes, I'll be willing to submit a drug screen today.
Okay. Now, at your home, do you have a crib or a playpen or?
Yes, I have a crib.
Okay. And you have family that's interested in helping you?
Yes, I do.
And is it your understanding that Tyrell may be in custody for the foreseen future?
Yes, it's my understanding that's a possibility.
Okay. Do you even know why he is on parole?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Why did he go to the penitentiary?
Can you ask him?
Well, you said you know.
Yeah, I do know why he went to, but I mean, that is his, I'd rather him tell you.
Well, but again.
Or you go out there and ask him.
Okay. But again, you understand, I have some concerns if you're associating with an individual who may be a dangerous individual.
He's not dangerous.
Okay, but if you don't tell me why he went to the penitentiary, I don't know that.
It's for a theft charge. Back in his past, he had a theft charge and went to the
Okay.
The prison for it.
Okay, a theft charge. Is that what you said?
Yes, I did.
All right. I have no questions, Judge.
Okay. Mr. Trout?
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you. Ms. Brown, when your attorney, Mr. Sapien, was asking you some questions earlier, I just wanted to clarify a few things. You stated that as far as your mental health medication that you take, were told to take it when you needed it. Is that correct?
Well, while I was pregnant, yes, that's correct.
Okay. So how long have you been, you said you were compliant with your medication. How long have you been compliant without getting off of it?
Like, what you mean? Can you?
How long have you consistently?
Like the total amount of time I've been on medicine?
No, ma'am. How long have you consistently taken the medicine without stopping?
Basically, when I'm not pregnant, that's when I've taken it, when I was supposed to take it, how I was supposed to take it. The only time it's recommended for me to take it basically take it as needed is when I was pregnant and basically on the medication. Because you can't cold turkey the medicine either.
I understand.
So it's something that my doctor recommended take as needed when I was pregnant. But outside of that, I can take it consistently.
Okay. So while you were pregnant with Deshaine, you were only taking it as needed?
Towards the end, yeah. That's when they usually tell you to take as needed towards the end of your pregnancy with any controlled medication.
Okay. What about prior to the end of the pregnancy? How were you taking it?
Like I was supposed to take it.
Okay. Since you've had Deshaine, are you taking it every day like you're supposed to?
I have to get refills, but I will go back to taking it as needed. Taking it like it's supposed to.
Okay. So are you not taking it right now?
No, because like I had said to what's the name? The last person that questioned me, that I was trying to get Teledoc set up virtually.
Okay.
Because that would just be easier for me to, just easier for my schedule, everything.
So just to be clear right now, you are not currently taking your mental health medication?
No, I'm currently just sober.
Okay.
Okay, sorry.
No, you're good. Now you said you used to use meth for energy.
Yes, every time I self-medicated myself, yes, I did.
When was the last time you did that?
I haven't done that in 2 years because I've been on my medication.
Okay. So, but in the past, you've had a habit of not using your prescribed medicines and self-medicating with meth.
Yeah, in the past, I couldn't give you date. Like, it's been a minute since I've done that. It's just past history. And being honest.
You stated if you were asked today, you would go drug screen today?
Yes, I will.
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Okay, anybody else have any questions for Ms. Brown?
No questions.
No.
All right, Mr. Sharp, you can call your next witness.
Thomas Combs, real quick, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Combs, you were sworn in, so you may proceed.
Ms. Combs, would you state your name for the record, please?
Heidi Elliott.
Sorry, you did change.
That's okay.
I apologize. Ms. Elliott, you were caseworker for Ms. Brown on the last case, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you've been here for the testimony today?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You heard Ms. Brown state that she found out she was pregnant back in January 24?
Yes, sir.
Okay. During your time on the last case, did she ever tell you she might be pregnant?
No, sir.
Okay. Did she ever tell you that she was going to get tested to see if they were pregnant?
No, sir.
Okay. Do you remember when she signed a relinquishment?
July 25th of 2024.
Okay. It was not in 2023?
No, sir.
Okay. And she had quit drug screening for you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. But you heard her testify that she found out she was pregnant with Deshane in January of 2024?
Yes, sir.
And during that last 8 months, there were no, or for the most part, there were no drug screens, is that correct?
Objection has been answered, Your Honor.
Ms. Elliott?
Everyone.
Ms. Elliott, I didn't know if you answered, I didn't hear that.
I didn't hear it. Can you repeat it, please?
Okay. In that last 8 months, for the most part, she did not drug screen for you?
Correct.
And that was when she knew she was pregnant,
Yes, sir.
according to her testimony?
Yes.
I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Ms. Sapien?
Ms. Combs, I know something was said about you getting married. Are you also identified as Heidi Elliott?
Yes, that's my new name.
Okay. On page 3 of the affidavit, Ms. Elliott, it states that you were informed Ms. Brown had another baby at BSA.
Yes.
Informed you of that.
Placement?
And did you speak to placement about taking in Deshane?
No, she just told me about Tyrell's mother had informed her that they had given birth to another baby, but I didn't mention placement.
Okay, and then you relayed that information to Ms. Pineda Tirado, correct?
Correct.
Why?
Because of concerns of past drug use and not being compliant during the life of the case.
Were you looking for a reason to remove Deshane?
No, I was just voicing my concerns.
Prior to receiving any sort of report, correct?
Correct.
No further questions.
Mr. Morales?
No questions, Your Honor.
Okay, and Mr. Hammonds?
No questions, Judge.
All right, Mr. Trout, anything further with this witness?
Nothing further with this witness, Your Honor.
Okay, any objection to her being released at this time?
No objection, Your Honor.
No objection.
No objection.
No objection, Judge.
All right, then, Ms. Elliott, you are free to go.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Trout, any further witnesses?
Not at this time, Your Honor. I believe the department address.
All right, Ms. Sapien?
Judge, I would like to recall Ms. Pineda Tirado.
Okay, you are still under oath.
Ma'am, did you just hear the questions I asked Ms. Elliott about the conversation you both had regarding the new birth?
Yes.
Okay. So Ms. Elliott approached you with the information that Ms. Brown had a new baby, correct?
It was a phone call. Yes.
And then, are you the person that had a conversation with placement about taking in Deshane?
No.
Okay. On page 3 of the affidavit you signed, it says, the foster parents for King stated they are willing to take in this new baby if needed. Who had that conversation then?
What date was that?
October 25th of 2024, according to your affidavit.
That was a conversation that I had with Miss Elliott.
Okay, so according to your affidavit, that conversation, whoever had it, talking to placement about taking in Deshane, was had before a report was even made to you, correct?
I believe so.
Do you find that odd?
I do not.
You don't think it's odd to make plans to remove a child before you even have a report of potential wrongdoing by a parent?
I believe there's concerns based off the history of Miss Brown using methamphetamines and having children that are born exposed to illegal substances.
Was there any report that Deshane suffered any sort of symptoms of withdrawal?
Not that I know of.
Do you typically see babies have symptoms of withdrawal when they're born exposed to methamphetamine?
There are times that they go through withdrawal symptoms and there are times they don't.
When you talked to Randy Rowley, the social worker for BSA, the first time, was that before or after a report was made to you?
That was after a report was made.
And I think you said this earlier, but when you met with Miss Brown, she wasn't exhibiting any signs of current narcotic use. Is that correct?
I didn't see any physical signs or symptoms that she would have been under the influence at that time.
Thank you, Ms. Pineda-Tirado. I'll pass the witness.
Okay, Mr. Morales?
No questions, Judge.
Mr. Hammond?
No questions, Judge.
All right. Ms. Sapien? Any further witnesses to call?
No further witnesses.
Can I cross?
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. Yes, you may.
Thank you.
As much as we don't want you to, I'll...
Ms. Pineda-Tirado, baby was born, Deshane was born on the 24th, correct?
Yes.
Your report came in on the 25th.
Yes.
Your conversation with Miss Elliott happened on the 25th.
Yes.
And when you spoke to Randy Riley from BSA, that was also on the 25th.
Yes.
Okay. So this was not a going into trying to find a reason to remove. These were all concern reports that came in on the same day.
Correct.
Okay. And these all happened the day after the baby was born.
Correct.
There was no ill will or malice on y'all's part to try to remove the child prior to even knowing the reports.
Absolutely not.
These were all just conversations that happened and reports that came in all at within a few hours. Is that correct?
Correct.
And it was all due to concerns, all these parties having concerns.
Objection, speculation.
Sustained.
They all came into you as concerning reports.
Yes.
I'll pass it, Ms. Young.
Okay. Ms. Sapien? Anything further of this witness?
Nothing further this witness, Your Honor.
All right. Do you have any additional witnesses?
I do not. Arrest.
All right. Mr. Morales, anything changed? Do you have any witnesses to call?
No, Your Honor. Arrest.
All right. And Mr. Hammonds?
No witnesses, Judge.
All right. Mr. Hammonds, I assume you have a recommendation.
Judge, I cannot in good conscience place an infant with Miss Brown until Miss Brown provides a drug specimen and we see that it's clear that Miss Brown at least cooperates with the department, that they can go maybe visit her at home, see what her house is like. Also, it concerns me a little bit about her failure to take her medication that's been prescribed. An infant, of course, being so vulnerable and, in a very difficult situation if Miss Brown is not taking her medication, just based on the diagnosis that she's given us. I think the court should grant St. Francis temporary managing conservatorship until they can investigate a little bit further, and then possibly, at the status hearing, some of this can be a little more clear as far as how Miss Brown is getting along. But I cannot in good conscience place this infant with Miss Brown.
All right, sir. Okay. Everybody just hang on for a few minutes.
Yes.
All right. So, Ms. Brown, the idea has been tossed around, and even by your attorney, I think. We're going to recess the hearing. I'm going to send Ms. Brown to submit to a hair and UA tomorrow before noon. She probably needs transportation to go do that. So can the department provide that transportation?
I can get my sister too.
Okay. You're sure you can get there?
Yes, I can.
Because if you don't show and don't give both of those tests, it's going to be presumed positive, Ms. Brown, and then I'm going to rule in the case.
Okay.
So I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt, and I'm going to send you for full panel drug screen and on hair and on a UA, and I'm going to reserve ruling until I see the results of those tests.
Okay.
I will just tell you, I'm not going to be concerned if the opioid shows up, as long as it's at a pretty low level, because theoretically you've only had one dose of it. Have you taken any other opioids?
Yeah, like they prescribed me the codeine, the Tylenol 2s.
Okay, you have a prescription for that?
Well, I have a prescription from the BSA hospital.
Do you still have any of those?
I've been taking them as needed, but I haven't taken them today.
Well, okay, but you have your bottle of pills?
Yeah, they're gone now, but I took them as needed after I left the hospital, so that should be in my system.
Do you still have that bottle of pills?
No, I threw it away because I can't get a refill for it. DSA prescribed me pain medicine for my blood transfusion that I had. I was having pain in my pelvic. But I'm just telling you that I was taking that periodically after I left DSA.
Okay, but it was Tylenol.
Yeah, the number twos.
When was the last time you took one of those?
It was just like after I pushed them out. You just said I had only one dose. That's why I said that. Sorry.
Well, I mean, did you take some oral medication after you left?
Yeah.
When was the last time you took one?
Last week. I went to them the day or the day before.
Okay.
Like last week.
All right.
Okay.
All right. So you need to be at Care Express before noon tomorrow.
Okay.
To do hair and UA, and so I guess Ms. Terrell will make sure that paperwork is there. And when those results come in, I want those first filed and distributed to all attorneys so that they can show those to their clients. And then I want to see the test results.
Yes, sir.
And then I'll make a ruling at that point in time.
Yes, ma'am.
I just understand, I mean, your history is very concerning, but I'm willing to take a look at this and we'll see what we see, okay?
Okay.
All right. I don't know that we need to reschedule anything. I think that I've got all I need other than those drug screens. So as soon as those come in, then we'll go from there.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Judge.
Okay, I appreciate everybody. Thank you very much.